Now we are going to journey or island hop to Taiwan. Yuh-Yao from National Tunghua University. She is the founder of the Department of Arts and Creative Industries and also of the Graduate Institute of Indigenous Arts.
I'm so happy to be here, and I want to express my appreciation to everyone, my good friend and my other dear friend of the organization to dedicate themselves of this grand event. I heard my friend Asif just say he's not presenting a paper, he's just expressing his passion. Now I'm not deliver a paper. I want to express my passion to people I love very much. They are my favorite indigenous group called Paiwan. So I give the name of Paiwan is a people of pride, with pride and beauty. My name is Yuh-Yao. I've been studying this group of people since I graduated from the United States, got my PhD since 1993. I know them for so many years. They are my very good friend. I set up the Department of Arts and Creative Industry in 2010, and I even found a Graduate Institute of Indigenous Art back to 2004. I think that is the first and the only institute in Taiwan dedicated to the study of indigenous art. For those of you know the name of Formosa, Taiwan, you heard of that? Maybe you think there's an impression of the beautiful sky and the sand beach, ocean, and maybe it's about the landscaping of Taiwan, the little island, with river and the high mountain, or maybe the gorgeous flowers in the 4 seasons. But however, for me, the beautiful island actually is because we have the rich indigenous culture and our tradition in this island. So actually, as an essential intersection of mainland and the Pacific, Taiwan has encountered so many waves of cultural context, even migrations from the mainland and the colonization throughout the history. So Formosa actually become, we call it Taiwan Austronesia. We believe from the archaeological evidence or the linguistic study, Taiwan might be the origin island or origin place for some of the South Islander. So the Formosa have strong relation to the Asia Pacific culture. And it come out, Formosa become such a great island because we have 16 formally recognized by the government, the 16 indigenous group. They all belong to Austronesia language system, but however, they speak totally different dialect and share different oral legend and share different culture and customs. So for me as a researcher, I think the oral tradition and embedded with their artistic value, actually that's a really strong power and essential part of the cultural transmission we should look after. And these are all the 16 indigenous group. They all share different costume in terms of the colors or the accessories and the crafts. As art educators like me, we attempt to facilitate the cultural learning, even for me or for my students. Actually, it's quite important to realize actually we need to emphasize the relation of indigenous art and their oral tradition, and also the connection of people as a human being of their land and their originality. So in this case, Paiwan indigenous group, I want to share their story. They located in the southern part of Taiwan. They are the people with a strong responsibility of their land and their originality. And the material culture and art is very distinctive. And the Paiwan people actually is generally considered one of the most interesting and inspirational people in terms of their artistic achievement. And also this very strong relation to their hierarchy social structure. which are inspired now today still, the creation of the material objects such as clothing, ornaments, wood carving, and the buildings as well. Excuse me, as well. So the cross-cultural concept towards the people and the contextual approach toward to the land, how do they value it, and how do they visually present it as a human from myth and also throughout the practice of garments such as garment and accessory. That's a very interesting topic for me. So the 4 levels of the peoples constitute the society, the community of Paiwan. Even today, we can see the level of the chief and the level of shaman. For example, these are all the shaman, and the level of the hunter or the warriors, and the level of the commoners. They all dress differently. For example, the Paiwan chief, with the privilege of beauty, they are entitled to have the great adornment on their headset and their clothes, decorations, because they are the only one responsible for the land that they inherited from the ancestor and the people. And you can see the chief's garment. They always have the short necklace and they have a very long and especially layers of these necklace like I'm wearing now. And also they also wear a very short, a small, shorter scarf, and with all the metal accessory like the coins they collected and other metal adornments. And they also wear feather. The feather is from a very large eagle. This species is very unique in Taiwan area. And you can see with the triangle, apparently triangle black and white patterns, you can see immediately that she or he is the chief. Actually, the eldest child in the chief family were entitled to be the next chief. The chief Gulalao, for example, in Gulalao village called Romulan, I know her since 1993. She is my good friend since then. And this is their clothes and garments. They use different kind of technique, like cross-stitch embroideries with beads and very tiny beads as well. And with the reason is with no written language, oral is the only way to commute. So it accounts for the embodiment of all the rich meanings, so that they can carry on all the concept, the value, all the stories. So in the design and the patterns of the group, you can tell what kind of story they are carrying, where are they from. So by which they can carry on this concept and the value through generation to next generation. And you can see this in this specific cloth, and can see there's a head pattern with a snake, and this is double, and the figure with a double head, human head. That means and they are head hunter in the old days, and the snake as well. And this is one of the example. I didn't bring this today. Is the shoulder garment of the chief. You can see here. There's again. They have with the human head and with the feathers. In this part, when you recognize this pattern, you know they are from Gulalao village. For the female garment, it also carry on the same, the headset with the feather and with all the layers of different beads, necklace, and other little shelf. And it tend to even decorate more colors and more metal accessories and later on. And you can see these, they even put flowers on it, and with other natural materials they collect, and also the more beads. And this is how the ritual performance is, where they express themselves through the wedding dance like this one. You can see the young girl are so keen to dress up because that's the only way they can see each other for their future boyfriend or future husband. So that's the way they can know who you are, and by the way they dress, and by the necklace, and by the feathers, they know whether you are the chief's daughter, or you belong to the chief family, or you are in a high ranking, or you are in a commoner level. So they can just take a look and know who you are suitable for them for the marriage or not. And this is another photo of the dance where I attended a long time ago. And in the dark, they dance from morning, afternoon, and with a short break, and in the evening. They dance for a long, long time, throughout 3 days. And I also found later on they also like the tassel with a lot of adornments. It tends to be a fashion way. They show their fashion and they decorate themselves with a unique way. For example, this young lady, she has a lot of feathers she collected. And from here, you know she is not from the Chi family. Because the triangle shape is not so apparent. But she is in a royal family as well. So she is entitled to have a feather decoration. And for this lady is not. She's a commoner, but however, she adores herself very much. And this is for a woman in married. They're already married. This is the way they dress. This is the tassel. And in old days, I found a picture. You can see even the young kids, the young children, they still adorn themselves very much, and still today. And this is the way they wear their necklace like this. For example, this one. And whenever you wear the necklace like this one, that means you are not married. Then you are single. So whoever single, you can wear this as my model. And this is the way to wear this. Is your hand over here and close your eyes and yeah, it's very pretty. So it's a very large decoration, so nobody can miss it. You know, you are single. You are my future wife or something. Yes. Anyway, and for male, they usually wear the sleeve jacket, very short. Very short jacket, and this is the color. I think there's also natural dye too, and they don't have such great combination of different colors, but only the very earthy color and the black and the indigo blue and something like that. And then this is an old picture of the warriors and the Chi family as well. You can tell. You can see they adorn themselves usually using the gain of the tail of the gain. In this case, is the wild pig tail. So how many you can tell? Maybe 10 of them, more than 10. So he's very powerful hunter. And for this gentleman, he is the chief. You can see the feather like that. He's also chief too. And he carry his knife and with the human hair. Here, he's a head hunter before, and also hanging the feather. And nowadays the pattern changed a little bit and maybe more colorful. In this case, they design their clothes and the embroidery in a unique way and to tell them who they are. Typical figure patterns such as sunlight and also hat design and the snake ornaments. And for example, there's a sunlight, and the sun even had a face too. There's clear reveal the richness of the Paiwan legend of originality. You can tell here we have snake pattern as well, and we have the sun pattern with the figure head. We have a pair of the snake, which is the poison snakes. And there's another way of the dressing in a more contemporary wearing is they put their skirt a little bit higher here in the chest and a very long skirt. And this again they have the sun. And the variation is very common. Everybody design their own pattern to tell they are who they are. And this is also, I think it's the button. I think it's original from Han dress. However, it symbolizes a little bit like snakes as well. This is other adornment for ladies. I bring a couple of them. For example, this one is for the right hand side is for the hair. Okay, I'm talking about other things about material culture is the beads. Beads are so important for them, but it's just material? No. Ancient beads are very highly valued by Paiwan people as a treasure in marriage and inheritance, especially if you are from a chief family. And that means the ownership of the beads means who you are and represent the owner's special social status. And each bead has a different name, such as Muli Muli Dan means the light of sun, and which is the most precious bead for the wedding gift. If you want to get married, you need to have the beads like that. So the beads is highly valued and it costs a lot for Taiwanese people. The Muli Muli Dan is like this. There's a king's bead. You can see there's a curve of the sunlight. And the beads are peacock. Peacock means you are in love. So in the wedding, this is the must beads as well. And there's a beads of sunsteer. This one is even highly valued. Means you are not only the chief, you are the chief with compassion, and the great chief. Sometimes if the village encounters some disasters or something, the chief usually will have this bead. So whenever they met each other, the chief have the meeting or something, they met each other, they know you are even in a high-ranking status than me because you've been suffered from and you saved your whole village. And this is the beads of eye. This one is for commoner or for the warrior. That means protection. And this one is a beads of land. For the rich family, they usually have a lot of these beads. And it also has two different kind of beads, which is the bead of time and the beads of space. And this is bead of time, and that's for male. And the beads of space is for female. I don't know why. Maybe female lasts longer, huh? Okay. And this is the set of the very grand necklace for chief. And you can see that on the bottom part, they actually arrange different kind of beads with different patterns, and the way they put together tell different story. So every single set of the necklace are different, and they tell different story of the person who wearing this. So people will see where you're from, how many villages is in a large, are you rich, chief, or something like that. And this is some of the collections I have. You can see this Muli Muli Dan as well. And this is the old piece. And this is a new piece. Again, you see the Muli Muli Dan in the middle. And this piece means the piece of wisdom. And these are very rare collection of the bracelets that constituted by a very tiny piece. It's very difficult to make. Even today, they try to recover the right recipe of the ancient beads. The friend of mine already find out the recipe after so many years of failure. It's just like a scientist who did an experiment to study the component of the beads. Finally, he find a similar one. So he becomes so empowered by this capacity. And these are the beads he made it. And I'm showing on the stage. You may come up to take a look. And this is some of the version by his daughter. His daughter is one of my students when I advised her master's thesis. And that's her work. It's for the young people's. And this is for young people's beads in the more contemporary style. And the other very important cultural tradition is pottery. Why am I talking about that? Because that's also the root of this culture. Ancient vessels are highly recognized because they are sacred symbol of the ancestors' spirit, related to belief as well. This is the way they look today. This is some of the remaining. And there's a story describe the ancient ceramic part and the first Paiwan chief. It says that a long time ago, a sacred snake laid an egg inside the pottery. And then the vessel growing bigger and bigger, larger and larger, day by day under the sunlight protection. And finally the vessel split into two parts. and a baby boy was born. And the baby boy was raised by a family of the Gulalau village. This is the oral legend I collected long time ago from my friend. And of course, he will say this is from their village. The only chief is from their village. Later on, the boy became the first chief of the village of Gulalau. So this kind of legend actually function like the very strong power to gather all the family together. And this kind of pottery vessel were placed at the family shrine of the house for worship. And they are only used during the religious rituals such as ancestral worship or weddings. And this is also the must object you must gift on the wedding. And the ritual vessel is treated by Taiwanese as a human being. How do we say? You can see actually, I did a paper based on my fieldwork study, and this part is, they consider this part is the head, the face, and then this part is the headwear. So usually they will have some decorations along the ring, and then the neck, and usually they will have some necklace over here, decoration as well. And the chest, and the body here. And usually here we'll have some patterns to show. So in this case, there's a pair of snake. And you can see actually the pattern of the vessel function like a human accessory as well, and their clothes as well. And they are not only decorative, but important to distinguish their either gender or the ranking of the vessel. For example, this male vessel are usually decorated with the sacred snake, usually in a pair. And the female vessel, they are adorned with some bumps and other patterns. So there's a male and the females. And they also decorate their inherit vessel with this ancient beads or the collection. And at the bottom part, this is the wedding gifts. I photographed them about 15 years ago. And after analyzing about over 60 of the vessels during my fieldwork, I found out this very coincident of the different variation of the snake pattern and the vessel, especially the male vessel. And these are all the different snake patterns. You can see that they adorn the snake with a different geometric pattern, such as the diamond shape. And this actually means the snake's bird eye sight, to see the pattern of the sacred snake. And for this one is the bottom part of the snake. And for this one with the triangle in the sequence pattern, that means the side, the both side of the body of the snake. And this part is with the variation of the eyes too. And the snake, and why it's so important, because also related to the Paiwan chief origin as well. And so they utilize this as a visual presentation a lot, very commonly, even today as well. That represent the image of the chief, also image of their family too. You can see these are the carvings. And also I analyzed over 100 pieces of wood carving object. I found out there are 4 typical patterns of the Paiwan. First is the human figures and the snakes, and also the nature pattern like the sun, and the geometric pattern like the triangles and diamond in the sequence horizon way of decoration. These are the 4 typical patterns of Taiwan. And these patterns, just like the code, like the ID card, become a very typical and social function socially, ritually in Taiwan culture system and the visual art creation. These are different type of the pattern of the human and the snakes. And on the right-hand side is my artist friend called Shen Wanshun. He's from another little village in the high mountain near Gulalau. That's his newly made ancestors carving. So the ancestors carving, this is the old piece. Compared to Shen Wanshun, my friend, it's a little bit different. This is more like a 3-dimension, and this is more like in the shallow carving. The first one is more ancient, is carving on the stone. And each piece of ancestral carving depict different legend, culture meaning, and the value. So the form and the symbols actually function as their family identification. And even in the front door of the chief house, and he utilizing two sets of the ancestral carving to symbolize he's the chief of the village, and it's also the image of the culture. And in the contemporary society now, for the young Paiwan artists, they still utilizing all the motifs and the patterns I just mentioned and analyzed in the previous image. You can see he utilizing the human figures, but depict in different ways. See the snakes, different like that. They say they never carved a snake just like that, like a one straight line. He said that means that the snake's dead. It's not alive, so that should be like in a curve. That means it's vivid with all the powers. And from the other perspective of one of my very good friend, he's a young artist called Leon. He's a painter, and his father is my friend who making all the bees. Because he been recognized so many stories about the bees and the legend and all the different names, he figured out he want to express his feeling, ideas about the bees, about their origin using painting. So he said actually the bees, the pattern, the power, the color, just function like the cell, human cell. So whenever they change in or the mingle with the other bees or other cell, in this case, that means human grow, human alive, human will continue their life. So they say actually this is the process of life. And the intermarriage for the Taiwanese are very important because they can strengthen their social status if they marry the daughter from the chief or they marry into the family to the son. So actually he said it's just like the mingling of the human cell. And this piece have been chosen in Canada called Sakahan exhibition in Ottawa, process of life. So this is another perspective of the young artist. In the contemporary fashion world, in old days, all the fashions they called it their costumes are made by the elders in the family or the motherhood to do all the beadings. But then now the young generation, they try to do their own way to depict how they feel about the Taiwanese. How do they feel of using these patterns? For example, this is a young fashion designer. His name is Shen Zhonggao. He's quite famous. He even won some prize in the international competition. I think in Paris or something. And he utilizing all these line, geometric patterns, and the shade, curving shade, something, and to depict his way to see himself as a Taiwanese. So the perspective I say probably for this young artist, the contemporary indigenous art creation will be they depict themselves as an interpreter of social reality. So throughout the time and history, with space and cultural memory they carry on, the indigenous artists nowadays light up themselves. They try to light up themselves of the depth of the cultural identity through art display, through art creation. And drawing on traditional iconography and the new media, like digital printing, they use that as well. The art object and form becomes the means of carrying out the will and of the complexity they enjoy for their whole family, for their whole life. Not only visible, hearable, tangible, but beyond materiality. That's a very important thing. And from the perspective of the artists and their art context they're facing now, the effect and the influence of globalization are very dynamic, so they have to respond to subjectivity of representation, and they have to reflect the cultural diversity, and they have to regenerate the locality, and they have to react the human value and the ethic as a Taiwan. as a Paiwan people. The variety of art and the crafts in this case, in fact, constitute the bridge of connection, not the border of line of distinguished from each other. Even though they utilize this cultural code, they're not just a borderline of distinguished people. It's to connect and inspire themselves as artists and a viewer like us, in general, to the observation and sharing the beauty. And in the end, the value and the plight of human being with the difference will carry on. So the Taiwanese just celebrate themselves and with us. The last photo I want to share with you may be very kind of art. This I have, because you know Taiwan is a kingdom of the textile and the industry. However, I saw a lot of things like the ribbon or the clothes. They're being mass produced, in a large quantity, and see the human figures and all the diamond shape, all the vase. I say it here. They're all in the ribbon. So in this, this is a new word. I think all the contemporary artists of Taiwan, I mean the younger generation, they also face different issues. But this is their decision and their will. How do they carry on? So maybe I really hope they can carry on their handmade tradition and the rich value toward their hand to make things, not just buying things and putting on as a ring of their dress. Yeah. So maybe I can help them, assist them more of my friend to come to the great event such as the web volume and to be a participant of the international exhibition, so they can regain their power and their pride and the beauty as a Paiwan young artist. So that's my mission. I hope next time I can bring more artists to introduce themselves to you. But anyway, this is a little story to share my passion of my friend of Taiwan, and thank you for your listening. Thank you.
Thank you. I think a lot of people would be interested to see what you are wearing.
Okay.
Do you want to come in front and maybe you want to explain a little bit, and people may want to take photos?
Yeah, this is the layer of the necklace I mentioned. Usually, this is from chief family. They can wear long layer, and the higher ranking chief will have the layered necklace like this. This is the earring. Yeah, this is an earring. Whenever you wear this earring, that means you're not married. This is the way they wear it. Yes. And actually, this is not a very traditional costume. You can tell. Oops. You can tell the costume. There will be a long one like this one. Will be the long one, like this one with a shoe. I think this is a very modern version of the Paiwan people. Yeah, they are changing as well. So I really say this is the decision. After 20-something, I see my friend their effort to revive their beads tradition. However, I also see the costume change much faster. Yeah, so the beads part, they preserve quite of the tradition. However, they change a lot in the costumes. So in this case, I won't say this is the traditional costume of Taiwanese. Yeah, this is the way they generally wear.
Professor Wan, what a wonderful presentation, thank you. My question is, I noticed in your slides, and I was in Taiwan for a long time, I always noticed there were some similarities between the dress of the Paiwan and the Borneo natives, as well as the Naga people. Have you ever investigated the correlation between these cultures, or was there no correlation?
No, I didn't do the research by myself, but I have read some of the research paper. They say they share very similar dialect. For example, mother and sound and the taru and the kind of fruit underground taru, very similar. Yeah, but another costume that's similar. But I think from the oral language, they share very similar. Yeah.
Languages.
And the beads, I think the beads is also similar. Yeah, also quite similar.
The hierarchy of the beads.
The hierarchy, yes.
For
And
marriage, for exchange.
yes, they will exchange and also intermarry.
Yeah, and
system.
then for the bankers to settle peace settlement, the beads.
The
And also
kind of
were they
beads.
headhunters?
They are headhunter long time ago, but not anymore. Yeah. In the old days, I still can see some of the photos in the Pottery archive. They have the shell of human scale. Yeah, long time ago. I also heard some oral legend through one of my interviewees. He said his ancestors usually have the like 10 of something, dozen of human head.
Oh, skulls.
Yes, skull. Long time ago, but not anymore. Boring. In the first time, 20 years ago, when I at that time was young, I say, oh, this should be like that. No, they think that's
Oh, no.
just that.
Yeah.
No, but going the other side. 4-step dance, very quiet. They usually don't smile when they dance. Unlike Army's group dance, they jump and smile and yelling with all the music, sing. But the Paiwan people, they are so quiet. But after you follow their rhythm, you will become in a very silent state. You cool down yourself, and you become, well, I don't know. It's a very symbolic, spiritual feeling at that time, at that moment.
But they like drinking alcohol.
They like drink. They like alcohol. And you know what? When I first doing my interviewing, they say you got to drink whole bottle. I said, no, whole bottle? I couldn't drink even a sip. But they forced me. I have to drink so that they would tell me story. So I drink, and finally I just drunk. But yeah, that's joking. They quite like the alcohol. But in old days, the alcohol, they can only have the alcohol during ceremony,
Yeah.
wedding. Yeah, they couldn't just button up, no. But nowadays they like to button up. Yeah, that's the problem.
Do the Baduis drink?